The moment I have been dreading has finally arrived. Episode 4 of Creature Commandos has just been released, and it is better than previous episodes. However, it does have one very big issue. Join us today as we go into what they did right, as well as the very big reveal that proves James Gunn is absolutely full of it. This episode was good overall. I really liked the backstory of Weasel, and it was very emotional. And I surprisingly, considering that Edward and I have never been big fans of the character, they did a great job telling his backstory. But perhaps the biggest reason why I liked it was in the previous episode with GI Robot, 25-minute episode, 20 minutes of flashback, 5 minutes of present day plot. This episode, it is the opposite. There was 7 minutes of flashback, give or take, and the rest was given to present day plot, which I liked. My biggest issue was that this is a short series, and if they're going to spend so much time on flashbacks, the present day is just going to be kind of useless as we're not going to get anywhere. Whereas here, this is how you properly do it. It was well sectioned off, and the time spent on it was super well done. As always, the cast was phenomenal. David Harbour, I'm still not a huge fan of him as Frankenstein, but I'm glad we're at least finally seeing him in the show for him being a title character. It's kind of weird he hasn't shown up much until this point. Other than that, I feel like those are the big standouts. The rest of the episode, I just have a lot of issues with.
I like this episode, mainly because of Weasel, which is funny for us to say that because I don't care for Weasel, but I didn't care for him because I didn't understand the character. I just thought he was just comedic, bad comedic timing. It was a heartbreaking episode. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But we get a little bit of backstory as to what happened. We all thought, he was just a kid killer. So we get some flashbacks. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. Another flashback episode. But it was done well. It was done in service of the story and it progressed his story along. The other stuff, I'll get into it in a little bit, but the Weasel stuff, how it explains like what happened and the way it shows it with each flashback, I was like, becoming more and more interesting in the character, and it's heartbreaking shit, man. Like that last flashback, particularly what happens like towards the end of it, I was like that, well, that fucking sucks. I mean, that's horrible shit. That touched me. I James Gunn was able to, not only grip my attention, but also make me feel bad for this character, and not so much for his character, but for what he was trying to prevent from happening to others, and ultimately couldn't because the cops and that redneck were being dicks. And it's hard. I was like, God, the whole time I'm like, shit, that's like the most horrible shit ever. And then he completely gets blamed for it. Amanda Waller is still a bitch. Viola Davis is phenomenal in the role. And yes, we get this futuristic vision as the episodes have progressed. We keep getting like these visions and like first glimpses of our heroes, if you will. And I'm excited as all hell to see them. We know that Wonder Woman, I don't know how this is going to play out in live action. We know she's going to be wearing her Star Spangled Banner underwear type thing. We get our first glimpse at the DCU Dark Knight here. Yes, he's impaled on a fucking pike. And this is where Griffin's totally right. So James Gunn said he wanted to do things totally different. He didn't want to do what was done in the past. And we just got a great, I'll admit it, a great Superman trailer. But in some promotion, in some, behind the scenes images, we see him handcuffed. And we saw Henry Cavill Superman handcuffed. And now we see like a apocalyptic death vision, which is, very Zack Snyderish. I mean, I like seeing Batman, and I can't really tell because of the fire in the background whether he's all in black or whether we're gonna get the gray and blue suit. So, I still got to find that out. But all in all, I'd say this is my favorite episode.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite episode too, but I've known about this nightmare sequence since episode 1, and that did not make it any better. This shit sucks. It's the same exact thing that Snyder did, albeit we did get looks at several DC characters. I mean, we saw Damian Wayne, we saw Starfire, we saw everyone that Edward mentioned, but this is for everything that James Gunn preaches he's going to do differently, he just does the same sort of shit. And I didn't
Now,
like that.
that doesn't mean that he won't do it better because you could
That's
always do the
true.
same thing and do it better.
But he says that we are going to be shown things that DC has never done before. This is exactly what DC has done before. First of all, this is Suicide Squad 3. And now we get a nightmare sequence. And then one thing I also didn't like about this episode was Rick Flag. I think that was a complete change of character. I think that he would have a little bit more honor and I guess respect to his country than calling the target that they're assigned to kill to warn them. I also feel like they didn't know each other long enough to really get that connection for Rick Flag to even think about betraying his country. He knows his role. He
they
knows
got
that
that
what he
ass though.
don't care. He knows his role. He knows that he is supposed to protect the nation and do it covertly, and he's gonna fucking call them to warn them. I didn't respect that whatsoever. I didn't like it at all. I feel like that was completely out of character, especially since he's been doing this for so long that he's been trained not to form connections and attachments. I really hope there's some reveal later that she cast a spell or some enchantment or a poison ivy like thing because
She didn't
that
have to
shit
do any of that,
sucked.
man. She put it on him.
That sucked. It sucks. That
You'd be surprised.
I don't care. I think that was worse than the nightmare sequence, if I'm being honest. I hated that so much. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go check out our Superman trailer, which just released, and it made us pretty optimistic for the DCU.
Yeah, it's pretty solid, man. Take care, guys.